Willie D Live.
What's up, family? If it's your first time checking out the show, let me know what city, what state you're coming in from. If you're outside of the U.S., let me know what country you represent. Throw up your flag. Family, I need you to smash up the likes, smash up the likes, smash up the likes. Also, if you have not done so already on YouTube, after you subscribe, there's a little bell next to your subscribe button. Go ahead and click that thing right now so you can get your notifications each time I drop a new video like this. That way you'll be in the loop. I'll let a few hundred of y'all come in, then I'm going in. But in the meantime, and in between time, I'm going to give some shouts out to the early birds, starting with dun, Robert Simmons. What's up, Rob? Asantan looks like SP, his natural element, something like that. Crystal Robertson, what's up? What it do, Crystal V. Robinson? Black, is that black or black? Black Keb or black? Okay, Connie Hodge, what's up, Connie? African Pride, where you been, man? Where you been? What it do? Amazing Love, Marcus Adams, Lisa Owens, Donnell Walker. Who is this? Lisa Jones, Mike, what's up, Mr. Tiptoe, King Castro, Larry Buckner, Edward Williams, Jonathan G. Ward, Mike Dan, what up, Gabrielle Norris, Desiree, Blurred B Gaming, Nachos Rules, The Financial Frank, Yo World, Santana Jackson, Chad Freeman, Roxanne, Daryl, what's up, Daryl, what's that? Daryl L. Tolles, Orange Mound, Tennessee. Got a lot to talk about, fam, and I'm going in on this one right here. I'm going in. Let's do a rundown real quick on what we're going to be talking about today, fam. First, we got this Admiral, an Admiral who decided to step down after he allegedly was given an illegal order by Defense Secretary or War Secretary, however you want to put it, Pete Hegseth. That's going on. We got a sister who killed her younger sister. Family, we got Trayvon Boykins. Remember the dude who used to play ball, who went to see Russell and Sierra at their house for Thanksgiving a few years back? He said it was 10 years ago. He went to visit them. They let him in their house. And, 10 years later, he pops up on a podcast and he tells all of their business in a really disparaging manner. So he's now apologizing for his transgressions. And we got this dude who went to Home Depot and said that Home Depot tried to round down his money all the way to, they tried to get him for an entire penny, and he stood on principle. I want to ask y'all about that, fam. We're going to get to that in a moment. I really want to get into that part right there, because more and more retailers and restaurants are doing things like rounding off your money. They're pocketing your money. And some people are saying, man, it was only a penny, man. The guy's petty. But other people are like, nah, man, he's standing on business. And then we got the story of this special ed kid who has once again gone viral. This kid initially went viral for using the N-word. His daddy supported and admonished him for using the word. He supported him in general, but as a son, but as a father, but he admonished him for using the word. And then next thing you know, another video pops up where he's talking about putting his black nanny in the dirt. Yeah, that's happening, fam. That's happening. But first, family, did you know in 1962, generals in our military planned to wage an attack against American citizens? They planned to kill American citizens as part of the propaganda to justify going to war with Cuba. Whoa, man, hold on, man. Wait a minute. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, man. How? Not my government. My government would not participate in something so devious. I can't believe it. I refuse to believe that my government would do such. Wait a minute. Hold on. What is this? Unclassified, top secret, special handling. The Joint Chief of Staff, Washington, D.C. Wait a minute. This looks like official letterhead here. This is, okay, so this is a memorandum for the Secretary of Defense. I think we have our hands on some classified documents, family. Wait a minute. This is dated March 13, 1962. And it looks like some documents were unclassified. Some very serious. Wait a minute. I got to get into this, fam. This is groundbreaking. Our government has never been a part of anything like accused of something like this before. And you're telling me at one point we had a government. We had people in our own military who had planned to actually kill American citizens to justify going to war. They were going to remotely target federal buildings and knock them down. Family, they even this is not alleged. This is not alleged. They even calculated how many American citizens needed to die in order to justify war. Whoo! That's cold-blooded. Let me make this as big as possible so that you guys can read along. Let's see. Get this. Yeah, let's put that. That's too much. I need to make sure I'm in there. Okay. Whoo, man, this is cold, fam. This is heavy, and I'll give you a warning when it gets to be to the point where you might just want to give up. I'll give you a warning when I'm getting to that part. So this memorandum reads: the Joint Chief of Staffs have considered the attached memorandum for the Chief of Operations Cuba project, which responds to a request of that office for brief but precise description of pretexts which would provide justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. The Joint Chief of Staff recommend that the proposed memorandum, be forwarded as a preliminary submission suitable for planning purposes. It is assumed that there will be similar submissions from other agencies and that these inputs will be used as a basis for developing a time-phased plan. Individual projects can then be considered on a case-by-case basis. Further, it is assumed that a single agency will give the preliminary or primary responsibility for developing military and paramilitary aspects of the basic plan. It is recommended that this responsibility for both overt and covert military operations be assigned the Joint Chief of Staff. And there you see the Joint Chief of Staff signature. So he got it. L.L. Littmitzer. There he is. Okay, let's get into it. The Joint Chief of Staff Cuba Project has requested that he be furnished the views of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on this matter by March 13, 1962. As requested by Chief of Operations Cuba Project, the Joint Chiefs of Staff are to indicate brief but precise description of pretexts which they consider would provide justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. Facts hearing on the problem. It is recognized that any action which becomes pretext for U.S. military intervention in Cuba will lead to a political decision which would then lead to military action. Cognizance has been taken of a suggested course of action proposed by the U.S. Navy relating to generated instances in the Guantanamo area. For additional facts, see enclosure B, discussion. The suggested course of action appended to enclosure A are based on the premise that U.S. military intervention will result from a period of heightened U.S.-Cuban tensions, which place the United States in the position of suffering justifiable grievances. World opinion and the United Nations Forum should favorably affect it by developing the international image of the Cuban government as a rash and irresponsible and as alarming and unpredictable threat to the peace of the Western Hemisphere. While the foregoing premise can be utilized at the present time, it will continue to hold good only as long as there can be reasonable certainty that U.S. military intervention in Cuba would not directly involve the Soviet Union. See, they don't want to directly involve the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union got them things. There is, as yet, no bilateral mutual support agreement binding the USSR to the defense of Cuba. Cuba has not yet become a member of the Warsaw Pact, nor have the Soviets established Soviet bases in Cuba in the pattern of US bases in Western Europe. Therefore, since time appears to be an important factor in the resolution of the Cuba problem, all projects are suggested within the time frame of the next few months. Hold on, y'all, I'm getting there. The suggested courses of action appended to the enclosure A satisfactorily respond to the statement of the problem. However, these suggestions should be forwarded as a preliminary submission suitable for planning purposes and together with similar inputs from other agencies, provided a basis for development of a single integrated time-phase plan to focus all efforts on the objective of justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. And here are the recommendations. It is recommended that enclosure A, together with its attachments, should be forwarded to the Secretary of Defense for approval and transmittal to the Chief of Operations Cuba Project. This paper not be forwarded to commanders of unified or specified commands. This paper not be forwarded to U.S. officers assigned to NATO activities. This paper not be forwarded to the Chairman, U.S. Delegation, United Nations Military Staff Committee. The Joint Chief of Staff have considered the attached memorandum for the Chief of Operations Cuba project, which responds to a request of that office for brief but precise description of pretexts which would provide justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. The Joint Chief of Staff recommend that the proposed memorandum be forwarded as a preliminary submission suitable for planning purposes. It is assumed that there will be similar submissions from other agencies and that these inputs will be used as a basis for developing a time-phased plan. Individual projects can then be considered on a case-by-case basis. Further, it is assumed that a single agency will be given the preliminary or primary responsibility for developing military and paramilitary aspects of the basic plan. It is recommended that this responsibility for both overt and covert military operations be assigned the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So let me get down to the nitty-gritty, fam. Let me get deep on into it. Let's go. This plan, incorporating projects selected from the attached suggestions or from other sources, should be developed to focus all efforts on specific ultimate objective, which would provide adequate justification for U.S. military intervention. Such a plan would enable a logical buildup of incidents. Y'all hear that, fam? Whoo! This is the playbook, y'all. Such a plan would enable a logical buildup of incidents. They want a buildup of incidents. They want to allow a buildup of incidents to be combined with other seemingly, that's the operative word, seemingly unrelated events to camouflage the ultimate objective and create the necessary impression of Cuban rashness and irresponsibility on a large scale, directed at other countries as well as the United States. So not only are we gonna make it look like they're hitting the US, but they also hitting our allies and a few other countries that perhaps may be on the fence about all of this. So if everybody can feel threatened and Cuba is the boogeyman, well, ain't nobody gonna think twice if they go in there and obliterate Cuba. Ooh, man, this is cold-blooded. The plan would also properly integrate and time phase the courses of action to be pursued. The desired resultant from the execution of this plan would be to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensible grievances from a rash and irresponsible government of Cuba and to develop an international image of a Cuban threat to peace in the Western Hemisphere. Did y'all hear that, fam? The desired result from the execution of this plan would be to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensive grievances. So it looks like we are suffering some kind of way, and we're getting hit, then we can hit back. Ain't nobody gonna have a problem with us hitting back. Good Lord, man, what wickedness. Time is an important factor in resolution of the Cuban problem. Therefore, the plan should be so time-phased that projects would be operable within the next few months. Inasmuch as the ultimate objective is overt military intervention, it is recommended that the primary responsibility for developing military and paramilitary aspects of the plan for both overt and covert military operations be assigned the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Family, I want to get down here and give it to you. I mean, this is cold right here. Since it would seem desirable to use legitimate provocation as the basis for U.S. military intervention in Cuba, a cover and deception plan to include requisite preliminary actions such has been developed in response to Task 33. 33 look like 33C. Yeah, 33C. Could be executed as an initial effort to provoke Cuban reactions. Harassment plus deception actions to convince the Cubans of imminent invasion would be emphasized. Our military posture throughout execution of the plan will allow a rapid change from exercise to intervention if Cuban response justifies. So it's like, hey, we're going to try to scare you. We're going to try to hit you with something. But if y'all hit back, now we can really, really go in. We can expedite it if Cuba actually strike. We can really go in then. We ain't got to wait on no allies. And we ain't got to wait to hear what NATO has to say about it. A series of well-coordinated incidents will be planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give a genuine appearance of being done by hostile Cuban forces. Incidents to establish a credible attack, not in chronological order. So this is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to, this is how they plan to carry out the attack. So they're going to start rumors, as many as possible. This is the playbook, fam. This is the propaganda playbook. This is the same playbook that was ran on Saddam Hussein. It's the same playbook that was ran on Muammar Gaddafi. It's the same exact playbook. Start rumors, many. Use clandestine radio. Land friendly Cubans in uniform over the fence to stage attack on base. Capture Cuban friendly saboteurs inside the base. Start riots near the base main gate. Friendly Cubans, you know. Blow up ammunition inside the base. Start fires. Burn aircraft on airbase. Lob mortar shells from outside of base into base. Some damage to installations. Capture assault teams approaching from the sea or vicinity of Guantanamo City. Capture militia group which storms the base. Sabotage ship in harbor. Large fires. Sink ship near harbor entrance. Conduct funerals for mock victims. Did y'all hear that, fam? Sink ship near harbor entrance. Conduct funerals for mock victims. So when y'all see these funerals being conducted, this is what people often talk about, these fake funerals. You ain't seen nobody, but they got a casket. United States would respond by executing offensive operations to secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements, which threaten the base. Commence large-scale United States military operations. This is the cold. This is the cold-blooded part right here, y'all. A remember the main incident could be arranged in several forms. For example, we could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. We could blow up a drone anywhere in the Cuban waters. We could arrange to cause such incident in the vicinity of Havana or Santiago as a spectacular result of Cuban attack from the air or sea or both. The presence of Cuban planes or ships merely investigating the intent of the vessel could be fairly compelling evidence that the ship was taken under attack. The nearness to Havana or Santiago would add credibility, especially to those people that might have heard the blast or have seen the fire. The U.S. could follow up with an air-sea rescue operation covered by U.S. firefighters or fighters to evacuate remaining members of the non-existent crew. The non-existent crew, they're going to evacuate members of the non-existent crew. Casualty lists in the U.S. papers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation. Remember I tell y'all, fam, that the mainstream media has always been in cahoots with the government to do its bidding? We could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even Washington. The terror campaign could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated. We could foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized, exploding a few plastic bombs in carefully chosen spots. The arrest of Cuban agents and the release of prepared documents substantiating Cuban involvement also would be helpful in projecting the idea of an irresponsible government. A Cuban-based Castro-supported filibuster could be simulated against a neighboring Caribbean nation in the vein of the 14th of June invasion of the Dominican Republic. We know that Castro is backing subversive efforts clandestinely against Haiti, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Nicaragua at present, and possible others. These efforts can be magnified and additional ones contrived for exposure. For example, advantage could be taken of the sensitivity of the Dominican Air Force to intrusions within their national airspace. Cuban B-26 or C-46 type aircraft could make cane-burning raids at night. Soviet bloc incendiaries could be found. This could be coupled with Cuban messages to the communist underground in the Dominican Republic and Cuban shipments of arms which would be found or intercepted on the beach. Use of MiG-type aircraft by U.S. pilots could provide additional provocation. Harassment of civil air, attacks on surface shipping, and destruction of U.S. military drone aircraft by MiG-type planes would be useful as complementary actions. An F-86 properly painted, did you hear? Hold on, fam. An F-86 properly painted would convince air passengers that they saw a Cuban MiG, especially if the pilot of the transport were to announce such fact. The primary drawback to this suggestion appears to be the security risk inherent in obtaining or modifying an aircraft. However, responsible copies of the MiG could be produced from U.S. resources in about 3 months. Hijacking attempts against civil air and surface craft should appear to continue as harassing measures condoned by the government of Cuba. Concurrently, genuine defections of Cuban civil and military air and surface crafts should be encouraged. It is possible. Check this one out. Hey, family, about to go there again. It is possible to create an incident which will demonstrate convincingly that a Cuban aircraft has attacked and shot down a chartered civil airliner en route from the United States to Jamaica, Guatemala, Panama, or Venezuela. The destination would be chosen only to cause the flight plan route to cross Cuba. The passengers could be a group of college students off a holiday or any grouping of persons with a common interest to support chartering a non-scheduled flight. These people were talking about killing innocent college students. They're going to just kill innocent college students. Not just kill innocent college students, but kill them during the holidays while they're on a trip, on a holiday trip. This is why I say all of this Christmas stuff, Thanksgiving, these people don't care about none of that stuff, fam. This is all game. They playing in our faces. They don't care about none of this. All of this stuff is to get us to spend money and keep us down, keep us in control, keep themselves in control, us beneath them. They were going to kill a plane full of college kids from the United States. The United States military, United States government were going to kill their own babies just to go to war with Cuba, just to justify war. They said an aircraft at Elgin ABF would be painted and numbered as an exact duplicate for a civil registered aircraft belonging to a CIA proprietary organization in the Miami area. At a designated time, the duplicate would be substituted for the actual civil aircraft and would be loaded with the selected passengers, all boarded under carefully prepared aliases. The actual registered aircraft would be converted to a drone. Takeoff times of the drone aircraft and the actual aircraft would be scheduled to allow a rendezvous south of Florida. From the rendezvous point, the passenger carrying aircraft will descend to minimum altitude and go directly into an auxiliary field at Elgin AFB, where arrangements will have been made to evacuate the passengers and return the aircraft to its original status. The drone aircraft, meanwhile, will continue to fly at the filed flight plan. When over Cuba, the drone will being transported. I guess they're trying to say will be transmitted on the international distress frequency, a Mayday message stating he is under attack by Cuban MiG aircraft. The transmission will be interrupted by destruction of the aircraft, which will be triggered by radio signal. This will allow ICAO radio stations in the Western Hemisphere to tell the U.S. what happened to the aircraft instead of the U.S. trying to sell the incident. It is possible to create an incident which will make it appear that communist Cuban MiGs have destroyed the USAF aircraft over international waters in an unprovoked attack. Approximately 4 or 5 F-101 aircraft will be dispatched in trail from Homestead AFB, Florida, to the vicinity of Cuba. Their mission will be to reverse course and simulate fake aircraft for an air defense exercise in southern Florida. These aircraft would conduct variations of these flights at frequent intervals. Crews would be briefed to remain at least 12 miles off the Cuban coast. However, they will be required to carry live ammunition in the event that hostile actions were taken by the Cuban MiGs. On one such flight, a pre-briefed pilot would fly tail end Charlie at considerable interval between aircraft. While near the Cuban island, this pilot would broadcast that he had been jumped by MiGs and was going down. No other calls would be made. The pilot would then fly directly west at extremely low altitude and land at a secure base, an Elgin auxiliary. An Elgin auxiliary. The aircraft would be met for the proper people, quickly stored and given a new tail number. The pilot would have performed the mission under alias. Then he would resume his proper identity and return to his normal place of business. The pilot and aircraft would then have disappeared. At precisely the same time, that aircraft would was presumably shot down. A submarine or small surface craft would disperse F-101 parts, parachute, etc., at approximately 15 to 20 miles off the Cuban coast and depart. The pilots returning to the homestead would have a true story as far as they know. Search ships and aircraft would be dispatched and parts of the aircraft found. So family, they're talking about destroying, well, basically putting the aircraft in the air and letting it fly below at low altitudes and hiding the plane, and then having a mock plane, a fake plane that they have that they already have destroyed. That plane will be in the water, and they'll go out there and they'll retrieve some of the parts and stuff as if they're retrieving the parts from an actual plane that had been destroyed by Cuba. Whew! I don't believe nothing now. I can't believe any of it now, fam. I mean, none of it. This is cold-blooded. This is cold-blooded, fam. They were going to kill U.S. citizens. They were going to kill U.S. citizens so that they could justify invading a country. How many times has this happened? How many innocent people have been killed? How many times has that happened? How many fake assassinations have we seen? I mean, the person died. Yeah, they died. But how many times did they make it seem like somebody else did it? How many times did they make it seem like, oh, he just got into a fight with a dude in the hood and they shot him while he was walking down the sidewalk? The dude came back and got some revenge. How many times has those planes went down? You know, this makes me think about that plane that Mickey Leland was on. A lot of people suspect that that plane went down at the behest of U.S. authority. How many times have our leaders been killed? How many times have foreign leaders been killed under the guise of the U.S. being attacked and retaliating? Ooh, man. God, the wickedness, man. Just thinking of stuff like that. Like, this is why I say they don't care about us, fam. And this is why I say we are all on our own. We are on our own. They do not care about us. We're on our own. I absolutely believe 9/11. I believe 9/11 was staged. I do believe it. I believe it was staged. Now, people died. The deaths were real. The people died for real. Those towers went down for real. But it's too many coincidences, including the owner of the Twin Towers, or one of the main owners, taking out an insurance policy just months. Well, actually, they said he doubled up on the insurance policy just a couple of months before the towers were struck. And then you got reports where people say they heard an explosion before the second plane hit. Yeah, people are talking about they heard explosions at the bottom. On the ground level, they heard explosions. And then they said the way that the buildings crumbled. These are experts in explosives have said the way that the buildings went down was reminiscent of explosions, explosive devices being used, not a plane hitting it. Because they said the way the building was built, the plane hitting the building would not have made it crumble all the way down to ground level. It wouldn't have done that. Ooh, man. Talk about wicked. Talk about wicked. This is what I'm telling you, fam. The wicked people, they're running it. Wicked. Man, I got to get off this, man, just to save my, I got to get off this to save my energy, just to protect my energy. We got fake attacks like 9/11, going in, demolishing countries, killing people, all for some land, man, for some resources. Come on, man. Come on, fam. Have you ever asked yourself, where was George Bush Sr. when 9/11 happened? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. George Bush Sr. was at the Ritz-Carlton in Washington, D.C. having lunch with Osama bin Laden's brother. Let that sink in. Oh, y'all didn't hear me? I said George Bush Sr. was in Washington, D.C. having lunch with Osama bin Laden's brother. Who is Osama bin Laden's brother? Well, he's the brother of Osama bin Laden, the #1 suspect in the Twin Towers attack. In all of the 9/11 attacks. Ooh, man. Ooh, man, talk about wicked. It's a different level of wickedness, fam. That's an entire different level of wickedness. Oh, man. Let's get into this general, this admiral, my bad, admiral. Family, the person you're seeing right here is Brother Admiral Alvin Halsey. Yeah. If standing on business was a person, you are now looking at him because he was called to the carpet by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to address the admiral's refusal to carry out fishing boat attacks in the Caribbean. According to reports, the Admiral said, that's not Admiral. I'm not doing it. Admiral Halsey expressed his concern for civilian casualties. Secretary Hegseth pushed back and reminded the Admiral of his sworn duty. Admiral Halsey informed Hegseth that he had no intention of carrying out an illegal order after 40 years of service in the U.S. Navy. In response to the Admiral's stance, Hegseth threatened to strip Halsey of his command. The meeting became heated and quickly adjourned. Less than 15 minutes later, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth received Admiral Alvin Halsey's letter of resignation. I ain't got no problem with that, but some of y'all do, and that's why we're talking about it. In recent days, members of Congress have reached out to Admiral Halsey requesting him to testify on events surrounding his resignation. Admiral Halsey has receipts. Admiral Halsey has agreed to testify. Admiral Halsey is recognized for breaking barriers as the first Black commander of SOUTHCOM and for his dedication to partnerships and strategic challenges in the Americas. In other words, the Admiral is Admiral. Can't really say that a lot about this administration. Can't say that a lot about the people in the administration. I got one question for the good Admiral, though. What took you so long? What took you so long, brother? Imagine how many officers over time, over the history of this country, who have acted on those illegal orders. They knew it was wrong, and they did it anyway. And here's the deal. Some of them were not under pressure. They were not under duress. They were not under duress when they did it. They wanted to do it. See, you got some of these nuts out here in the military, and they are killers. They love killing. And they don't care who they kill. They just like killing. They'll kill. The same ones are oftentimes essayers. Yeah. They like war, because see, in war, there ain't no rules. They can go out there, man, and steal, kill, rape, the women and children. Some of them men. Yeah, they do that too. Think about it, fam. Yeah. Yeah, some of them are very bloodthirsty. So they won't have a problem following the orders. You know, they like robots. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you know, whatever you need, sir. Yeah, got it, sir. Yeah. They just want a pat on the back. You ever see how they act when the president walk into the room, like when it's a bunch of them, and the president, somebody told the president, hey, we need you to go over there and lift the morale at the 21st Infantry. You know, we need you to go over there and, you know, just say hello to the guys, and it'll do so much for their spirits. President walks in, they all be. Boy, president touch him. Boy, they get to shake your hand, they be like, why? Why? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. If I was a soldier and I was given an admiral job, assignment. They gave me an assignment and said, man, get out there, man. We need you to do this, Woo. And we need you to do this because we really are fighting an evil. We're fighting evil. Yeah, I could do that. I couldn't do it for America, though, because I'm dealing with evil right here in America right now as a black man every single day. So I would not do it under no circumstances. Would I do it for America? Not after I've seen how other black veterans be treated. I've seen too many black veterans tell horror stories where they've been mistreated after they went and fought for this country and extended many people in this country's rights to have the freedom of speech to call them the N-word. They've extended people's in this country's freedom. Because, you know, you lose some wars, the winter gonna come in and take over. So many times, black people, black men and women have fought wars for this country, put their lives on the line. Man, you got black people that have been maimed, came back with one leg, one arm, both legs gone, half of their head sometimes, literally half of their head, all is gone. Come back and get treated like trash. They done went over there and killed all them people over there who ain't never did nothing to them. And they come back here and get treated like a dog. They still got to deal with racism over here. They still got people calling them the N-word. They still got the police dragging them out of cars. This a regular ass police officer. He ain't never been to war. He ain't never been in combat or nothing. But he went to the academy for 11 months, got his little 20 hours of college or whatever it takes, and they gave him a badge and a gun, and he pulling you out of the car, a decorated veteran. They just handling any kind of, you just saying that you are a veteran ain't enough to gain their respect. You know, like they still gonna treat you like a regular N-word. Hell no, I wouldn't fight for this country. Hell no. I wouldn't fight for this country. I wouldn't, because this country won't fight for me. This country has never fought for me. I'm not fighting for this country. I'm going to tell you who should. Every white person out there. White people should fight for this country. That's who should be out here fighting for this country, because y'all got the most privilege. Y'all get the most benefits. Y'all get the most privilege. Now, if I had it like y'all had it, hell, I'd be fighting my ass off to keep that. I'd be out here like, who talking about America? Bing. Who that? Who wants some with America? Man, I'm trying to hold on to that privilege. So yeah, I can understand y'all should be really the only people in the military. Since y'all the only people that can get to talk to the police any kind of way you want to talk to them, y'all get so many breaks. Y'all got it made in this country. This whole thing was laid out for y'all to make it. So y'all should be fighting for this country more than anybody. The whole military should be all white. There shouldn't be no black people in the military, no Latino people, no Asians, nothing. They always like to brag about how white the country is. This is the white man's country. This is the white man's country. Well, all right. Well, why come the biggest white man, the most prominent white man in the country, never fought in the military? He's a 5-time draft dodger. He never fought in the military. But y'all bow down to him. Y'all kiss the ring. That don't even make sense. I would not, under no circumstances, under any circumstances, follow a man who is afraid to fight. No, I would not fight for a man. I would not defend a man who would not defend me. I'm not talking about talking. I'm talking about action. Yeah, I would not fight for a man that would not fight for me. Y'all out here risking y'all lives, on these stupid dummy missions where you're being disrespectful to people, using the N-word, starting to fight all of this. When you hear Donald Trump say something, you get fired up. This is a dude that wouldn't push a duck in the pond, and if he did, he'd jump in and save it. Donald Trump is the dude, he ain't gonna do nothing. He gonna get you to do it. He gonna get you to do it. So his hands is clean. He gonna get you to do the dirty work. If you look how the mob was operating, if you look at the mob, the reason mobsters were respected is because everybody knew that the mobster was willing to put in the work. They knew, hell, the mob, in order for a mobster to become a mob boss, he had to show the propensity to put in the work. He had to already show the propensity to put in the work. He ain't got that. He have not shown the propensity to put the work in. It's one thing to not vote for somebody who's never been in the military. It's one thing to not vote. It's one thing to vote for somebody who's never been in the military. It's a whole other thing to vote for somebody who's actually a draft dodger, somebody who dodged the draft 5 times, not one time, 5 times. This is the guy who gives them courage and hope. This is the guy who they lean on for strength. How? Man, I come from a place where, hey, you can survive in the streets, but if you had money, you had power, you had to be able to defend that yourself. Now, you could have other people that would be willing to defend it, but those other people and other people had to know that you could defend yourself. You had to be able to defend yourself. You had to be willing to defend yourself. Get your own hands dirty. I come from that. I'm cut from that cloth. So yeah, the brother stepped away. Brother stepped off. He said, look, man, I can't do this. I'm done. It's a lot of them want to do it, but a lot of them, their whole identity is wrapped up in those titles they have in the military. They don't want to be asked, General, Admiral, they like those titles. Just like a lot of politicians, they will not retire because they like those titles. Congressman, senator, mayor, councilman, they like those titles. It sounds good, sound good. But they won't let it go. They will not let those titles go. A lot of those, a lot of people that's in these public servant positions, their whole life is being identified with that position. Their whole life is wrapped up in that field. And so they're going to hold on to it. You're going to have to wrestle it out of their hands. You're going to have to hit them on the chin a couple of times and loosen them up in order to get that title out of their hands, because they're not going to let it go voluntarily. Yeah. So salute to the Admiral, the good brother. Salute to the good brother, Alvin Hosley for, standing his ground. And, although it took a minute for him to finally, step down, the bottom line is, at least he did. Boy, we got a cold-blooded case out of Cloverdale. Actually, it's not out of Cloverdale. This case is out of where did this happen at? St. Louis, I believe. Let me see. I got to make sure I got this right. Yeah, this happened in St. Louis, right? Okay. We got a woman facing charges, and she is accused of killing her own sister. We got a woman facing charges for killing her own sister. How do you get so gone? How do you allow yourself to get so far gone that you murder your own sister? They say that she is accused of going into a bathroom to shoot and kill her younger sister. On November 26, 2025, at around 6 p.m., police say officers were called to the 10,000 block of Cloverdale Drive in St. Louis, Missouri. Upon arrival, officers found a woman who had been suffering from gunshot injuries to her arm and torso. She was taken to an area hospital where she later died. The victim was identified as 25-year-old Briola Carter. Officers say that surveillance video shows that the 27-year-old Giveon Carter went into a bathroom with a gun before she fired shots through the door toward Brianna Carter and a child. Giveon Carter is charged with second-degree murder, armed criminal action, and endangering the welfare of a child. Giveon Carter remains behind bars on a $500,000 cash only, no 10% bond. This is an active investigation. Additional information will be disseminated as it becomes available. Way too many cases like this, fam. Absolutely heartbreaking what this does to family, right? Because no matter who did the shooting, you're going to have family members that are going to pick sides. You're going to have family members that are going to, even if they're not necessarily picking sides, to say, I'm supporting her and because I don't believe this happened or whatever. I don't believe the other person's story. There'll be somebody in the family who's going to support her because she's family. They're going to say she's still family, and I'm supporting her. I don't like what she did. I don't appreciate what she did, but I'm a supporter, and I'm going to take her calls and I'm going to try to help her get out of jail. I'm going to go to see her and, I'm going to try to run some errands for her and help her keep her affairs in order while she's in jail. I'm going to look after her kids. And there'll be other family members going, no, let her rot. Let her take her punishment. There's going to be family members that's going to clearly pick a side. I've seen this firsthand. I've seen it. Family member murders another family member. And family members get mad because others have not written the shooter off. They didn't write the killer off. So the other surviving family members get mad. And, and these type of wounds go unhealed oftentimes for decades, sometimes for life. People never get over it. If she went in with the gun, why isn't it first degree? Why isn't it first degree murder? If she went in there with the gun, they got the video shows her with the gun going into the room. I guess she can say that I was just going in there to protect myself, but why would you go towards the danger? You're supposed to walk away from danger. But maybe maybe they got on the second degree because they know they can slam dunk the second degree. And second degree, you can end up with a life sentence even with a second degree anyway. So, but it seems like it was premeditated to me. I'm gonna go ahead and address the elephant in the room, fam. If you look at both of them, one might presume or conclude that maybe some jealousy was involved there, you know. Maybe it was some jealousy involved. The shooter, in case you're wondering, that's the one to the right, the one with the mugshot. You know, that's why I didn't tell you which one was the shooter sooner, because I figured y'all figure that out. But the one on the right is the shooter. That's Giveon. She's the shooter. It seems like to me there could have been some jealousy there. Might have been some jealousy. I'm seeing more and more cases like this every single day. I'm seeing brothers kill sisters, sisters kill their daddies. I mean, daughters setting their daddies up, you know, to get killed. I saw a girl who wanted to be with a dude, and an older dude, and they wanted to run off together. And so they decided to kill her daddy because knowing her daddy was going to object to it, they decided to kill her daddy. Like, how do you think you're going to get away with something like that? Like, oftentimes these youngsters, the first thing that come to their mind is kill. Like when they have a conflict, the first thing that come to their mind is kill something, kill somebody, kill themselves. They don't think rationally. They don't think that, you know what, there's always tomorrow. You know, I don't have to, that is the extreme. I don't have to go that route. I got options. These are other options I may not like, but these are options. These are better. These options may take time to develop, but these options are probably the best way for me to go. It's like they don't have any critical thinking whatsoever. They just go on, they jump straight over to kill. They don't think, well, you know what? Let me talk to her. Let me talk to her. Let me try to reason with her. You know what? Let me just move away from the situation. Let me cut that person off and stop dealing with them. Let me get out of that circle. Let me mind my own business. You know, let me just leave that alone and just, I'm going to protect myself now, but let me just leave that alone. And if it comes to me and find me and hunts me down, then I'll do what I got to do. But this ain't really necessary. And on top of everything, fam, they're killing people who ain't even threats. They're killing people who ain't even killers, right? They're killing people who are not even killers. I might be able to get it if somebody get at somebody who you know, oh, if you don't down him, oh, he coming back. Oh, you better make sure if you get at him, you better make sure you don't miss. He coming. But they're getting at people. They're killing people who ain't even killers. A lot of these people, like I saw, like, for example, 3-2, very popular rapper from Houston, was murdered several years ago. He was murdered by a friend. Allegedly, they were doing drugs or something like that, and maybe it had something to do with drugs. I don't know if the dude was high or whatever, but he killed 3-2. 3-2 was not a killer. 3-2 was one of the funniest guys ever, one of the most jolly guys. I never even known anybody to have beef with 3-2. I've never known anybody to even say anything bad about 3-2. You know, I won't go as far as saying he was harmless, because anybody can be provoked, but he wasn't a killer. So dude killed him, And now he's sitting in prison for a gang of years. Made absolutely no sense to me. They didn't specify what kind of bathroom it was. Were they in a public bathroom? Were they in a private bathroom? But no matter what, I cannot wrap my head around killing my own sister. You got to be gone when you get to that point. At that point, all of anything good about you has left your body. When you wrap your head around killing one of your sisters, one of your family members, your brother, your sister, your mama, all goodness has left your soul. It's left your soul. And I can't see you not being haunted. Anybody with a conscience would be haunted by something like that. So I wouldn't even want that on my conscience. I wouldn't want to give my conscience that responsibility. I wouldn't want to do that. And I want to know also, why do they need information from the public if they have the video of the shooting? That's what I want to know. So I'm thinking she had to be mentally unstable, or there was some sort of fight that turned deadly. But again, she had a gun. They saw her going to the bathroom with a gun. So sounds like to me she intended on killing her sister, or at least she was at least prepared to kill her sister. I'm thinking she was at least prepared to kill her sister. But just looking at her, she looked a little off. Some people say, well, the family should have gotten her some help. Who's to say the family didn't get her help? Who's to say? So some people are saying that, this chick was suffering from some type of mental illness. I don't know. I don't think you get a gun and you go into the bathroom and you shoot your sister, you shoot your younger sister. Then you blame it on hearing voices and hallucinating, paranoia. I don't know. A lot of these young people, though, fam, they skip something. While growing up, a lot of these young people skip something. They miss something. They skipped it. They just kind of skipped right over something, because many of them are totally detached from empathy. They're detached from conscience. They have many of them on demon time. Some of the things that they do to each other and themselves, their own family members, that's cold-blooded, man. She killed her own sister. I know that there's a such thing as sibling rivalries, sister rivalries, but most sisters I know, they beef, they bump heads, but they love each other. Most sisters I know love each other. Oh, they talk noise to each other all the time, but they got each other back at the end of the day. I'm talking about the ones I know. Yeah, fam. This is bad. Bad. I'm gonna tell you something else that's bad. This guy right here on the right, that's Trevon BOYKIN. Trevon BOYKIN is the guy who made some disparaging comments about Russell Wilson and Sierra after he visited them for Thanksgiving about 10 years ago, according to him. He went on a podcast and said that Russell and Sierra's Thanksgiving dinner was weird. The whole time he was there, it was weird because Russell didn't have family members at the house. He didn't have any of his family there, and all they had there was two nannies and a butler, and it was them and some other person they named, and he named Sierra child Little Future, and he said Little Future was entitled and he was bad as hell and all of this type of stuff, and it just reminded me of how important it is to protect your private space. Now, he just apologized for his comments, but I don't think he learned anything because he continued to try to justify his comments. Let me tell you something, fam. If you ever want to deliver a sincere apology, the apology should not come with some type of explanation where you're trying to minimize the weight of that transgression, right? If you sincerely want to apologize, you can give a person an explanation for why you did what you did or why you said what you said. But the strongest apology is to just apologize. Just to apologize and say, hey, I was wrong. I was wrong. They didn't deserve that. Those people let me into their home on a very special day. This is a day where you celebrate family and togetherness. They let me into their home. They fed me. They welcomed me. And I took the knife that I was eating with and stabbed them in the back. I shouldn't have done that. And it's inexcusable. And, I ain't got nothing else to say. If he wanted to say anything and he wanted to talk about how he was raised and all this stuff, and he could have said, that's that. My justification at that time was that, hey, I was raised with my family and all that stuff, but the way I was raised ain't got nothing to do with what they had going on at that time. So I should not have made the correlation. I should have just left it at that. But my dumb ass, you know what I'm saying? Something along those lines would have sufficed. But I don't think he learned his lesson. I think he still was just trying to save face. I don't think his apology was sincere, but that's not up for me to judge. It's up to Russell Wilson. I'm sure Russell Wilson, if he half as sharp as I think he is, he would just cut dude off and never deal with him again in life. I know I wouldn't. It's one thing for somebody to say something about you in private. It's one thing for somebody to say something behind your back. It's a whole other thing for somebody to come in, look around, watch how you moving, monitor your life, and then go to the internet and tell the world about it. And tell the world about it in a disparaging manner. I mean, he didn't even say it in an uplifting way. He said it to disparage them, to make them look weak. So, yeah, I would be very careful of people like that. You got to be very careful of the people that you let into your personal space, because many of these people are monitoring spirits. Remember that phrase, monitoring spirits. These are people who will come around you and watch how you live, watch what you do, study your family, study your ways, your behavior. They're taking notes how your children respond, the way you interact with your woman, with your man, with your mama, with your daddy, how you do business. And then they go back and report it. They go back and report it in hopes of undermining you in some way. These are monitoring spirits. These are people who will check you out, who will see what you got going on. They want to come around you just so they can go back and tell. The only reason why they want to come to your party is so they can go back and tell people what they saw. And I'm not talking about it in a good way. I'm talking about it in a bad way. They're looking for deficiencies. They're looking for something that looks a little off so they can go back and tell. I don't know what happened. I don't know where these dudes come from. Well, I know where they come from. I know where they come from. It's sad. Going in on this subject right here, fam, I want to really get y'all opinion. Y'all tell me what y'all think about this guy right here. So we got this guy who went to Home Depot. He bought something and Home Depot shorted him a penny. He said that they rounded down and they shorted him a penny and he wanted his penny. Some people were saying, oh man, he tripping, he petty. Other people say, no, he's standing on business. But check it out, and I want y'all to, tell me what y'all think about it. Check this out.
Okay, people. I just came out of Home Depot, bought some stuff. My change was $10.51. They rounded it down. The girl tried to give me $10.50. I asked where my penny was because that's my money. She said, we don't have pennies. We round it down. I said, nope, you either take this stuff back or you go get your manager. I want my money. Corporate's not keeping their customers' money. You want to round? You round up. Manager came over and she said, we don't have pennies, sir. I was like, well, then you're going to give me a nickel. And she looked at me. I was like, nope, that's my money. You don't keep my money. That's stealing from me. So she said, give him the money. Give him a nickel. Don't argue with him. So I made him give me my nickel. So you either give me a penny or you round up. There's hundreds of millions of pennies still out on the market. There's no excuse for this. They just stopped making them. People, don't let them keep your money. It's yours.
Hold on, let me spread that out so y'all can really see, get the effects, the full effects of the slow clap. I ain't got no problem with that. It's mine. Gimme. Give me mine, man. I want mine. Some people say, man, that's just petty. That's just petty. No, man. What if Home Depot shorted 1 million customers a day out of pennies? If they shorted 1 million people a penny, that's $10,000. That adds up. Why is it that they get to keep 10,000 and the customer gets shorted? I'm not with that. I was at a restaurant in Houston, and this is a upscale restaurant, right? It's real fancy and all this and stuff, I got my date and stuff, we have a good time, everything good. We having a great time. Bill come out. The bill was like 300 and what was it like? It was like 300 and like $9 or something like that, something around there. Anyway, they try to round down. And they tried to round, it was, it was 300, like $1 or $2 or something like that. So they rounded up and brought me back, I think it was like $390 or something like that. It was like, I said, look, where's the rest of my change? They were like, well, we don't carry ones. They said, we don't carry ones. And I said, okay, so where's the 5? And you know what? I tell you what, don't even worry about it. So what I did, I just took it out of the tip and kept on going. And I just decided, you can't play with my money like that. I'm like, buddy, if you're going to round down, don't round up, round down. I'm not with that. That's my thing. What do y'all think about that? Give me a thumbs up if you think it's petty. Thumbs down if you say, nah, man, I'm with it. In fact, hold on, let me back up because that's a little confusing. If you're with it, give me a thumbs up. If you with the old man, and you like, no, give me my penny, I want all of mine, give me a thumbs up. If you say the dude tripping, you think he went too far, thumbs down. Let's see how y'all feel about this. What's up, Paul? Paul say up. Sagittarius up. Vernon up. Rich up. Prima up. McQueen up. Deep Thought up. Keith up. Bella up. Hypnosis up. Hypnotize up. Hypnotize minds. Eric up. Was that Maya Angel Love up? Fox up. Positive down. So that's an easy one. So overwhelmingly, you guys agree that if they owe you a penny, you want your penny. You want your money. You want all of it. I'm with it, man. Don't be rounding up. Don't be rounding up, man. Round down. Give me mine or give me mine. These restaurants especially, but a lot of these companies have been taking on ways of the restaurants. If you pay attention to what's going on in this tipping world, fam, in this tipping space, you'll realize that a lot of companies are taking cues from restaurants in regards to tipping, because the restaurants are the first ones I saw started doing that rounding up and rounding down. Rounding up. I seen them do it. And then now other companies are starting to do it. And, if you go in and buy something, sometimes you go in to buy something, and let's say you have a product that costs, let's say $90.10. Do you know there a lot of times they won't give you any change? They'll try to not give you any kind of change. You give them $10, they won't. I'm saying if you give them $10, they won't give you change. Oh, we don't carry change. Shit, you carry something. You better give me my money. Give me the rest of my money. I'm not letting you walk away with my money. I'm not with that. Give me all of mine, because they want all of theirs. They want all of their money. So I want all of mine. That's how they get over on you. I'm not with none of that. I'm with Buddy. Buddy say he's standing on business. You owe me a penny? I need that. And pennies add up. How you think you get to $1? In order to get to $1, you got to start with a penny. Pretty soon, they're going to have us thinking that a dollar ain't worth nothing. They already got some of us thinking that a dollar ain't worth nothing. That's why we be bad budgeting. Yeah, a dollar worth something. Dollars add up. Dollars add up to fives, and fives adds up to tens, and tens add up to 20s, and 20s add up to hundreds. Hundreds add up to thousands. Yeah. Need that. I need all of that. So the overall consensus is that Buddy was right to ask for his penny from Home Depot. Because he's like, man, Home Depot is out here stealing people's money, and I'm finna put them on blast. Go ahead on, Pops. I'm with you, man. You ain't did nothing wrong. You ain't did nothing wrong. Let's get into this story here, fam. This is a heavy story right here. Hold on, let me get it right. So we got the story of a youngster. We got the story of a youngster inside of a grocery store that's about to get kidnapped right in front of her mother. Check this out. It happened kind of fast, so I'm gonna run it back. The guy in the blue, watch it. It was hard to tell, was he trying to actually kidnap her, take her with him, or if he was trying to SA her right there in the aisle at the supermarket. Look at where he grabs. And the mama was way too casual. She's way too casual with letting him walk off. She's way too casual about what he was up to. Oh, I would have had to make some contact. Oh, I would have definitely made contact. And they would have had to, it would have been clean up on all three. Absolutely. Absolutely. Family, these child abductors are becoming more and more brave. They don't care about the cameras. They don't care if they're in a grocery store, a crowded grocery store. They don't care if they're at the airport. They don't care if you're standing on the street at a bus stop or you're walking. They will pull up and try to snatch you in broad daylight. These predators are out of control. You got to be watching, man. You got to move with your head on a swivel. I don't want to discourage anybody from having children, but I would not try to encourage anybody either, because it is very dangerous out here. This is a bad, bad place for children. This is a bad place for human beings, period. But children get very little to no protection in this country. It's bad. They're not going hard enough on child trafficking. They're not going hard enough on human trafficking. And I do believe it's because many people that are in our government and law enforcement are part of the human trafficking. In order for any crime to succeed on a large scale in America, it has to have participation from law enforcement and members of our election party. You know, there has to be cooperation from them. There has to be members in the courts who are part of it. That's the only way they can get away with it. Because when they want to stop something, they stop it. Anything they really want to stop, they stop it immediately. Anything that they really deem a real threat, they make it extremely difficult for someone to want to participate in that type of act. These guys are getting off way too easy. And I suspect it's because they're getting empathy from the courts. And the reason why they get empathy is because you got judges and prosecutors who are involved in that type of activity. You got people who can relate to them. That's why a lot of these guys get off and get these light sentences. People who snatch children off the streets, snatch anybody off the streets and hold them hostage, you know, do whatever they do to them, especially the ones, and you know, that when it comes to murder and when it comes to like uprooting somebody and making them, forcing them to live another life, like you basically holding somebody hostage as a slave or something, man, those type of people, they should get the death penalty immediately. It shouldn't even be no question. It should be, the death penalty should be on the table for anybody who snatch up a kid or even snatch up an adult. We got to stop not just saying we care about the kids. We got to start caring about the adults, because if the adults ain't right, if we ain't looking out for each other, if the adults don't have the mental capacity to raise children, to nurture children, then we're missing the whole point. We got to start, and we got to stop this thing about just talking about how we got to protect women and children. We got to protect men too. It takes all of us. We're a unit. We're a unit. And if one part of that unit is not operating satisfactorily, you know, in a satisfactory way, then guess what? It's going to be a problem. We got to protect every member of society. We got to stop saying, oh, this community is more important. This gender is more important. No, everybody should be important. Every member of our society should be important, and they should feel important. You have a lot of people out here doing all of this killing and going crazy and shooting and all this stuff, because a lot of times people, they don't feel any attachment to the rest of the world. They don't feel any attachment to the rest of society. So it's easier for them to go out and harm members of society because they blame everybody for their lot in life. They blame everybody. I've seen too many videos like this where these uncivilized mutts are just walking up to children in broad daylight, snatching them, oftentimes when their mothers are just steps away. Notice I say mothers. Very seldom do you see them making a move when there's a father around. Very seldom will you see them making an attempt, a kidnap attempt, when a father is present. This is for some of you women out there who like to say, well, I don't need no man. All I need is me and my poo-poo. Just me and poo-poo. Nah. It's a lot of benefits come with though, having that strength. It's a lot of benefits come with that. When they know it's a man on the other side of that door, they approach that door a little differently. You don't see children, when these children are acting up, sometimes we see these kids coming to people's house to fight and all that stuff. You never see them coming to a house when a man is there. You never see a man opening the door and coming outside. It's always women. It's always women and children. It's always women and children. You never see them approaching a door where a man is present. Yeah. You can't tell me. You can't tell me that a man don't have a place in the household. Y'all be careful out there, fam. Fam, I thought this case was behind me. I thought this case was behind me. But I wake up and I'm going through the headlines and I'm checking out what's going on online. And boom, I see this guy again. Y'all remember this guy? The guy in the middle is William. William is special needs. William recently went viral for using the N-word. It's one of his favorite words. He went viral. His dad, right there to the left, also went viral for admonishing William, telling William, hey, man, you don't talk to your teacher like that. Call your teacher the N-word and woo, woo, woo. Now, the video that preceded that was a video where a black guy put William on blast and called William a whole bunch of names. Some people took offense to that. Others said, no, he deserved it because William knows exactly what he's doing. You see, William only calls black people the N-word. He only calls black people the N-word. And so the brother was like, hey, man, no, he knows what he's doing. He knows. When his daddy was admonishing him, he asked him a question and he quickly responded. So he may be special needs. But I truly believe that William knows exactly what he's doing and what he's saying. Because that woman on the screen in the upper right-hand corner is his nanny. And he called his nanny ugly. He said that she needed to be put in the dirt. He told his daddy to fire her. And he was laughing the whole time. And his daddy seemed to find it a little humorous also that he was using these words. And look, don't feel sorry for the caretaker now. Don't feel sorry for the nanny, fam, because the nanny was acting like a pickaninny. She was acting like a pickaninny. She was laughing and going on like, well, you know, he just talked like that. And she's just laughing the whole time, just laughing and giggling. Like, who raised you? Have some dignity, man. Have some dignity. All money ain't good money. You couldn't pay me to work for somebody who would insult me like that. You couldn't pay me to go into an environment where I'm subjected to that insults all day, every day. And by the way, William is not a child. I just found out that Williams is actually 22 years old. He's not a child. He's 22 years old. William knows exactly what William is doing. I do believe. I do not believe that he's just absent up top, because he only talks like that to his nanny. He's not calling his daddy ugly. He's not calling the other people that walk down the street ugly. He just seems to have this thing where he like calls black people ugly and calls black people the N-word. Yeah. So he's not calling anybody else the N-word. He's calling black people the N-word. I'm surprised William has lived that long and talked the way he talked and has not gotten rocked. I am extremely surprised. Because I'm going to tell you something, fam. When you make grown folks' decisions and take grown folks' actions, you get grown folks' consequences. Now you let that sink in. I was trying to give him the benefit of doubt. I'm like, well, maybe the dad. And then I'm listening to the dad sit there and laugh about it while he's in, the black nanny, she's laughing also. But the daddy, it seemed like to me that the daddy was just kind of playing along. Yeah, it seemed like that's what was going on. And he got it from somewhere. He learned it from somewhere. Where'd he get it from? Looks like him and his daddy are pretty close. I've seen special needs people who got a pass, kept getting a pass. And then one day, something happened and there was no pass given. They got checked, hard checked, and they never did that offensive thing again. They never did it again. So perhaps there is some activity up there, Perhaps there's some activity up there. What say you, family? Y'all think William faking? Is William faking? Give me a thumbs up if you think William's faking. Thumbs down if you say, nah, man, I think the little kid. Well, not a little kid, he's a grown man. In fact, his daddy, give me a thumbs down if you say, nah, everything, all good. It's all good, man. I don't think he's faking. Give me a thumbs up if you think he's faking. Here's the deal, fam. William is 22 years old. There ain't no way William's gonna get to 44 and somebody not make contact with him. Special needs don't mean special treatment. For some people. Now, some people might give you a pass, but I know everybody not gonna give you a pass. It's sometimes people have challenges, right? They're not special needs, they're not handicapped, but they have challenges. Maybe they have height challenges. Maybe they're little skinny poles or something, whatever. And people don't look at them as a threat, so they know they can take that information and run with it. They can be disrespectful. And they'll get away with it with most people. But every now and then they're going to run into somebody who is going to give them everything that they're looking for and teach them a lesson. Yeah. So, William has been making his rounds on the internet lately. I think his daddy is also enjoying the attention. They're getting a lot of attention. But I think they're going to get some bad news real soon. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. When it happens, I'll make sure that I share the information with you. That's my time, fam. I appreciate y'all joining the live. A few shout outs before I go. Let's see. What's up, Sean Lunatic? Ashley, Miss 516, K Mitchell, Florida people are very respectful of blacks and humanity. They are. Florida people. Is Florida still in the United States? Oh, man. Yeah. Let's see. One sword. Sagittarius goddess. What's up, Connie Hodge? All right, fam. Okay. That's my time. I appreciate y'all, fam. Tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. Until next time. Boy, this dude William something else. No more talk.